Well, welcome everyone. Hi, my name is Jenny Whitener with Bridge Innovate, and it is our pleasure to welcome you to today's program. We're presenting an overview of our upcoming Foresight Scouts program. Today's session is really just a Zoom meeting. We want to get to know you. We want to understand the questions that you might have about our Foresight Scouts program. And so just invite you to go ahead and take a moment while we're gathering and go into the chat and say hello. Maybe insert your name, your organization, and let us know a bit about yourself. So we might even go around in a minute and do introductions if that's okay. Joining me today, along with myself, Jenny Whitener, joining me on today's program is Emily Skywark, one of our consultants. She'll be co-leading the Foresight Scouts program with me this year. Emily, do you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Happy to have you here today.
Great. Also with us today, joining from the Bridge team, is Hannah Lancaster, another consultant on our team. You want to say hello, Hannah?
Hi, everyone.
Great, great. Anyone else would like to come off of mute and say hello? We would love to hear from you, maybe your name and your organization.
Hello, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Hi, I'm Florence. I'm with Unum. I obviously know a few of you ladies here, so nice to see you again.
Yes.
I'm looking forward to this session.
Great, nice to see you, Florence. And we have a Christina. Christina, do you want to say hello?
Hi, I'm Christina Mung, and I lead an emerging techs program here at Unisys as part of our emerging tech and innovation ecosystem.
Great, nice to have you. Welcome. And Sarah, I see that you're also with us today.
Yes, Sarah Concepcion. I work at the Urban League of Greater Chattanooga.
Excellent. Well, thank you for being with us. And it looks like we may have a couple of others joining in as we go. So welcome everyone to today's program. Let's get started. So today's program is a part of our Inspire series where we share stories of leadership and innovation. And today's program is about foresight. I love this concept of why are we driving forward looking in the rearview mirror? So often today, our senior leaders and our divisional leaders, our executives, are spending so much time looking in the rearview mirror in terms of historical data. They're looking at the data from today or this morning or from last week or from the past quarter. And as we think about the disruptions coming at us, it's important for us today to not only be looking at historical data, but to also have the tools and the process to look at future disruptions and to analyze how those disruptions may also be impacting our business. And that brings us to foresight. Foresight provides us a method for navigating the unknown unknowns to position of knowledge. So play along with me, if you would, using the chat. I'm going to ask you a question and ask you to give it a rating of 1 through 4. So when you think about emerging technologies, for example, a huge amount of disruption happening in our marketplace and in our businesses with the latest advances of technology, where do you think your organization is right now on this assessment spectrum? Are you operating under pure gut, just seeing how the technologies are hitting you and doing hopeful thinking that you'll choose the right one? Are you at a number 4 where you have extensive evidence of maturing technologies, you have established models of which technologies you'll be mobilizing and established timelines? And there's 2 and 3 all the way in between, right? So are your organization in the early stages when you look at disruptions coming from technology, you would be a number 1? Or if you think that you're pretty advanced at assessing technologies, would you be a number 4 or somewhere in the middle? So give me a reaction in the chat if you would. 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay. I can see that you guys are coming through. Great. Thanks, Florence. A 3 or a 4. So really nice. So a lot of assessment there. Sarah, maybe 2, 3, and Christina, a 1 to 2. Great. So I can see that all of you are kind of sitting in different places in terms of the level of maturity for your own organization, in terms of analyzing emerging technologies, emerging trends, and then assessing what are the implications to your organizations. And that's where it leads us to Foresight Scouts. So let's keep going and take a look at strategic foresight as a practice. Strategic foresight is actually a practice and the capabilities of anticipating and planning for the future. Many of you, if you've been through your MBA program, you might have covered strategic foresight in the strategy element of your MBA program. Strategic foresight involves a lot of different tools, methods, and resources for analyzing futures and giving us an ability to anticipate those futures and make probable business decisions and strategies to address those futures. In fact, there's research that shows that future prepared firms outperform the average by 33% higher profitability. So we know if we are anticipating the futures, we can proactively pull those opportunities to us rather than being pushed by them in the marketplace, giving us a much better chance to seize those opportunities. Let's keep going. Bridge Innovate put together Foresight Scouts 2 years ago, before COVID, actually, one of the major disruptions of our time. And it gave us the opportunity to pull all the best tools and resources together to analyze future trends and put together foresight briefs to prepare our organizations for them. I love this quote from Amy Webb, where she talks about a myriad of factors and inputs create the constellation of change that becomes our future, which tells us that we have to broaden our thinking or you'll be left behind. In our Foresight Scouts program, it gives you an opportunity as a professional to really dig in, analyze future trends, and make some analysis that then form a foresight brief to better prepare your organization for that coming disruption. So let's go further into the program. When we think about strategic foresight, you'll see today here on the left-hand side, and the drivers that are moving us from today to these futures, right? And when you think about those alternative futures, about what might be, that's the stage in which we're working in Foresight Scouts. We're assessing those future trends, we're looking at alternative futures, and we're putting together a point of view about a preferred future or a foresight brief for our organization. Those foresight briefs could influence innovation strategies, strategic plans. They could influence your marketing strategies. They could influence your talent approach. It depends on what perspective you're going at from the very beginning. So this is the realm in which we're working in foresight. Organizations across the spectrum are investing in strategic foresight. Shell is probably the leader in this contender, and they've been doing scenario planning for years, using that to guide all of their strategy work. Disney is also a great proponent of foresight. Nike, Lockheed Martin, a lot of major organizations have very significant practices in analyzing foresight capabilities and putting together models to help shape their future organizations. I'll just stop for a moment and ask you all who are joining us today, how advanced is the foresight practice in your organization? Are you kind of in an early start? Are you pretty sophisticated at analyzing future trends? Where would you say? Early start or pretty sophisticated? Give me some reaction on the chat or come off of mute. Probably an early start. Okay, great. Thanks, Sarah. Early start, says Christina. Yeah, I think many organizations, everyone experienced the impact of the most significant disruption of our age being COVID. I think that gave us all an opportunity to look at the impact of major disruption and how we have to respond to it. We have the opportunity now to not be so driven in that regard, to be proactive, right? To really understand and put time into analyzing future trends and being prepared for them. So let's keep going and take a look at the Foresight program that Bridge offers. Foresight as a practice, we look at across 3 phases, phase 1, 2, and 3. Phase 1 is where Foresight Scouts is really focused. It's around unlocking bias. So we go into a perspective so that many times we miss future trends because we have a bias that would never happen. So we go through a period of work to unlock that for ourselves as foresight practitioners. We ask each of you to bring in a challenge that you want to address in Foresight. We then go through that analysis of looking at issues, current conditions, Foresight trends, signals of change, patterns of change, conducting pestle analysis, and exploring all those indicators of the future to finally come up with a future wheel and a Foresight brief for your organization. So each of you can come with your own challenge, with your own topic, and then you'll come out of the program at the end with your own Foresight brief. If you decide to go further in strategic foresight, you would go into creating scenario models into phase 2 and looking at those future scenarios. And then phase 3 is implementing those strategic plans to address those future scenarios. But Foresight Scouts is all around scanning, anticipating those futures. Let's keep going. In terms of joining the program, it's a pretty easy thing to do. You simply bring a challenge and some sponsorship to the program. We meet virtually, and the focus of the cohort is to build strategic leadership skills, anticipating future trends. You'll get an access to our Foresight toolkit that you can use ongoing, and it should boost your career in terms of differentiating yourself in the marketplace. We've seen Foresight practitioners who've joined our cohort programs in the past go back to their organization and bolt in Foresight to leadership development programs. We've seen them actually launch Foresight sprints as a prelude to an innovation sprint, or they would do a Foresight sprint in addition to a strategy sprint, sort of opening up that perspective to business strategy or divisional strategy. We've also seen our cohort members go back and use the tools that we create in Foresight to run an executive retreat or to do a conference session around looking at disruption generally at a leadership program, or maybe to run it as a team building activity. So lots of applications for Foresight. This is an example tool that we used in the Foresight Scouts program. It's a pestle scan where we begin to look at emerging trends and disruptions across these arenas: political, economical, social, technological, legal, and environmental. And by looking at it as a system of change across the environment, it gives us a better opportunity to unlock these future disruptions. Okay, let's keep going. We take something that we find in those scans, we identify it as a future disruption or a change, we put it right in the middle of this futures wheel, and that allows us to unpack that change or that disruption and begin to map out for our organizations what are the first order of consequences and then the second order of consequences for that change. This type of modeling helps us to understand the broader implications of a disruption for our organization, and it becomes a tool that we can use with leaders at any time and walk them through these changes. And this will be a part of our program. Here's an example of an upcoming change that I think you guys may have seen. Have you guys seen this deepfake Tom Cruise video? Let's take a quick look and see how much that you might know about deepfakes, and then we'll look at what that means in terms of a futures wheel.
All year long, Deep Tom Cruise has been posting videos showing what appears to be a different side of the Oscar-nominated actor.
I think there's bubblegum inside. People are surprised that I'm a big Dave Matthews guy.
But believe it or not, that's most definitely not Tom Cruise. Nor is this with me in our LA bureau.
This is serious breaking news, but a little behind the scenes, a little flavor. I'm with one of the most legitimate correspondents on earth. Now, if you're interviewing me, Jacob, you face it. Hold on just a second. There's a big fire. We're safe. You are deepfake Tom Cruise. That's me. That's me.
Miles Fisher may have an uncanny resemblance to the superstar, but using advanced technology, what he's created is far more than an extraordinary impersonation.
Have you guys created the best deepfake that has ever been made?
I think we have created the first deepfake that's so realistic that a large majority of people have seen.
Not only seen, but fooled by, including at least one of the world's biggest celebrities.
This is the one that Justin Bieber thought was real.
Fisher says looking and sounding like the leading man made it difficult to chart his own path as an actor. So a year ago, he decided to lean into it, stumbling into a role with repercussions far beyond Hollywood.
as I find myself the unofficial face of this deepfake movement, it's important to learn. And I'm fascinated by this. This is the bleeding edge of technology.
It started when Fisher contacted Belgian visual effects wizard Chris Boumet. They began creating viral videos for fun, and they're only getting better.
Okay, Emily, I think we can stop. So you can see this technologist has created this deep fake in about 5 days. And you think of the implications of how realistic this gentleman looks like Tom Cruise. Let's take a look at the future wheel. If you look at this technology, I think there's only about 4 states in the United States right now where deep fakes are illegal. The legislative sector has not really come to fruition with deep fakes in terms of making a decision of where they stand on that and its implications to our society here. So if you were to think about deep fakes as some type of major shift in our organization today, what would be some of the implications that we might see on a deep fake? Any suggestions, any thoughts? Maybe even you've just come off of mute and just share with me your thoughts if you know about deep fakes that surprise you or familiar with them.
I can jump in to get us started, Jenny. I think the social implications are really interesting, that folks who are not actually people with influence can create trends and influence social behavior by pretending to be somebody else.
Right. Yeah. So it definitely allows us to live in another world. Other implications for, it's really not social distancing. I guess it would be in the middle would be deep fakes, but right. That type of trend. I mean, definitely on the economic side, right? There's a lot of money to be made. With 5 days of programming, somebody can take all of the brand presence of Tom Cruise and be pretending that they are him, right? And sort of leveraging that brand presence of Tom Cruise in 5 simple days. Think how long it took Tom Cruise to build that brand presence, right? And then what do you believe, in terms of the legal side? Are there implications for, the legal components of, is this legal to be representing an individual without their permission? And what does that mean in terms of how do we foster trust? I mean, on the social side, the influence is huge in terms of being able to come forward with such a presence, make statements. I mean, what if there was a deep fake of our President Biden, right? What are the president of your company, the division, your CTO making an announcement? Just think of the implications of how quickly things could turn on a dime with a really great deep fake that came out with erroneous or misleading information. So how do we prepare for this type of these advanced technologies, which could be used in a very positive way, but also these types of advanced technologies could be used in a very negative way? How do we make ourselves aware of their potential and then develop a proactive response of how we would respond to them if we feel that those are emerging significant trends that we need to be aware of? And this would be how we might use the trend of deepfakes and look at it on a futures wheel. Okay, let's go back. Any questions so far in terms of the practice of strategic foresight, how we look at future trends, how we map them and create foresight briefs to impact your organization? Any questions so far? Okay, let's take a look at the digital platform that we use, Sprint-based, to do the mining and assessing of all of our future trends during the Foresight Scouts program. Emily, you want to take us through this one?
Thanks, Jenny. So this is Sprint-based, the digital platform that allows us to run this program virtually. As a Foresight Scouts participant, you will have access to this platform during our sessions, but also for a year afterwards, so that you can continue to practice these tools and share this with others in your organization. This is what the dashboard looks like. We have a challenge up here. This is a challenge from our democratizing automation cohort. They focused on these 5 stages of foresight, the same ones that we will focus on during this cohort, the 5 stages of strategic foresight. They began with scope, then moved on to scan, then synthesized those findings, moved on to implications, and finally created a foresight brief. Let's take a look at this first stage and look at all of the mining that happened in that initial phase. So you'll get to see all of the posts that were created by the cohort members. And you'll get to see just the massive data that can be compiled here in a really short amount of time by cohort members. They were able to drop articles in here that explored questions that challenge others in the group to think differently. And then folks were able to vote on them and deeply engage with these posts to learn more about different trends. We'll skip through here to the final stage, which is the foresight brief. And we'll get to watch a video from one of our cohort members to get you a sense of what is the final deliverable that you'll be able to have to show to members of your organization at the end. So you'll have 3 things that you can take with you in addition to all of your skills and all of the data that you gather. You'll have a futures wheel around a challenge of your choice, a foresight brief, which is a copy version of what will be your pitch video. So you'll have something that you can distribute in prose. And then you'll also have a pitch video that you can share. And we intentionally make these short and informative. So let's hear from one of our cohort members, Ada.
Aware before the pandemic, you are likely now aware that trucking is essential to life as we know it. You've also likely been made aware of the immense amount of driver shortage that is currently known across the industry. Driver shortages are not new to the industry, but when they do occur, they have the potential to cause efficiency disruptions in this already complex industry. What is going to counter the ever-present driver shortage and help improve efficiency within the supply chain? Autonomous freight trucks. Autonomous freight trucks will completely disrupt the supply chain as we know it. Why? Because they'll provide solutions to this completely complex system. Self-driving trucks offer sizable economic and operational benefits for companies across the supply chain. Self-driving trucks could also realize a sizable productivity gain and increased capacity by being able to operate nearly 24/7. This doubles the daily range from 600 miles to 1,200 miles. It's important to note that this is not something that only the trucking industry should keep note of. It is imperative that companies begin strategizing around how they will accommodate the changes once they are realized. It's likely that entire infrastructure systems will have to be completely redesigned, and the redesign will take time. So for those companies that are prepared, they will excel when autonomous fleets deploy. But those who are instead reactive to the deployment will fall behind. If you weren't already aware before the pandemic, you are likely now aware that.
So Ada joined on behalf of US Express and explored democratizing automation in freight and trucking. And so she was able to bring back with her this pitch and this foresight brief that then US Express and the folks that she works with there can use that to make some more informed decisions about how democratizing automation will affect their business in the future. This is an overview of our upcoming Foresight Scout program. It will happen over 2 weeks. Let me get you guys a better view of the screen here. It will happen over 2 weeks, and we do them intentionally around the lunch hour. They are Monday, Wednesday, Friday for 2 weeks in January. So you kick off your year with this new foresight. You bring a challenge. So in years past, we've focused on one particular theme, like democratizing automation. For this cohort, we're asking you all to bring the challenge. You'll focus on it during these lunch hours, usually from 12:30 to 2, some days from 12:30 to 1:30. You'll have cohort sessions where you'll get to work with professionals from all different industries. So you'll get insight, not just from folks who have background in strategic foresight, like the Bridge team, but also folks who are coming to the table just like you are to learn about these tools and to apply them in their own context. You'll also have some homework to be able to dive deeply into this outside of the session time. Here is what you need to get ready. We are going to award one of y'all who are here with us in person today a free seat in our Foresight Scouts program for January. All of you need the same things to get ready, whether you win this spot or not. You'll need to identify a participant from your organization. That'll be easy for the person who wins today. You'll need to identify a sponsor, someone in your organization or the organization itself who will support you going through this program. Identify a disruption that you are affected by. That's the challenge that you'll bring to explore throughout the program. And you'll also need strong access to internet because this is a virtual cohort. Some of the things you can expect to take away from it are a new strategic leadership mindset and skills that you can use to anticipate trends and guide your organization through uncertainty. You'll also gain some skills in trend mining and the ability to create logical, forward-looking future views. So we will give you the tools and the skill sets, and then you can just keep running disruptions through this toolkit, especially because you'll continue to have access to Sprint Base for a year. And again, those tools that you saw us work through today, the pestle scan and synthesis and the futures wheel, you will learn those specific tools, be able to take them with you and be able to incorporate them into a Foresight brief. You will also, as a cohort member, get a Foresight Scouts digital badge.
Great. So what questions do you guys have for us today before we spin and give away the free seat? Any questions on Foresight Scouts?
No, I'm just excited. I think it will be a really helpful tool. I'm already trying to think about what my particular focus would be. So
Good. Yeah.
I have a question for you.
Sure.
What parts of the organization do you tend to see join these types of cohorts?
Gosh, we've had everyone from, people coming from the strategy or innovation department to talent leaders. There's been a lot of disruption in the workforce and workforce of the future. We've seen sales organizations. We had an entire cohort come from a large manufacturing company that their entire sales organization was being disrupted with online sales. And so it really just depends on where you're seeing disruption happen in the marketplace. And then somebody says, let's get a hold of this. Let's look at and document these trends. Let's analyze these trends and be prepared. But usually, I would say kind of a more of a manager level, director level. We've had some VP levels come into the program, but the folks who are really leading the change in the organization tend to be the participants. Does that make sense?
Yes, thanks for that.
Yeah, no worries. Sometimes if you have more than one person, it actually makes it fun because you can pair up together. So if you have we know Florence well, but if Florence brought a couple of people from UNM, you can all tackle, a combined issue together, or maybe you want to have related issues, like let's say recruiting trends and then data analytics on the talent side or something like that, and put those things together. Yeah. Any other questions?
I'm curious, have you ever had a nonprofit do this before?
We have that. We've had actually a nonprofit look at it primarily from the development standpoint, like how will money be raised in the future? Because so much of traditional giving is changing to online or purpose-driven. Lots of different platforms competing now. Salesforce in the game of gathering money.
Yeah,
So,
absolutely.
yeah, it's sort of like Walmart comes in and takes over your development capacity or something. So I think that we've had nonprofits come in, especially in the areas where they're seeing disruption.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. I think the big thing for you all who are exploring this is that you'll get the technology and you'll get all the tools. And the real impact for you is to be able to use this as a conversation starter to affect change in your company, right? So that might be here, look at these trends running like small, they could be lunch and learns, they could be, leadership workshops. Look at these trends and asking your participants, how do they think these trends are going to impact the organization? or you can present your perspective and then ask others to weigh in. So it's not, I think you don't have to feel that you have all the answers. You become the catalyst for exploring the disruption and the catalyst for posing the questions to say, how should we be prepared, right? And that kind of puts you in a different light in the organization. Other thoughts or questions? Okay, I think we've run at time, haven't we, Emily? So we've
Yes.
kept our participants and wait long enough. Let's do the spin and see who wins today on our complimentary offering of our January program. Okay, Christina, you have won. So if you would like to join us in January, you have a complimentary membership into the cohort. We would love to have you.
Well, thank you. I look forward to chatting with you about this more afterwards.
Great. Thanks so much. And thank you all today for joining our overview of Foresight Scouts. This program actually came to fruition when I was coaching with a CEO of a large manufacturing organization, about $6 billion company. And he said, Jenny, the thing that keeps me up at night is I cannot see these disruptions coming. And so I said to him, I said, well, what do you do about that? Like, how do you identify disruptions now? And he said, I asked the leaders of my staff meeting. And I said, well, how's that working for you? Because it doesn't seem to be working so well now. So that was the catalyst for me almost 3 years ago to put together our Foresight Scouts structured program, bringing in the best tools from strategic foresight methodologies to democratizing them, giving leaders in all aspects of the business a chance to look at future trends. So I look forward to seeing you again soon, hopefully in January, at a Foresight Scouts program. If you have any questions, let Emily and I know, and we'll be right back with you.